red buses halted in the bus lanes all along the bridge. There are about 4, 5, 6 police cars I can count with their lights flashing along the bridge. There's a lorry sort of at right angles across the bridge, across 3 lanes, and police cars blocking the other end of the bridge, the south end of the bridge, and a lot of police people walking around.
You said you were up on the 9th floor. Did you hear anything?
I didn't. Just at the edge of the bridge, and she heard gunshots, and people started running, and she came back upstairs. She heard about 4 gunshots, she says, before she came back into the building. And obviously there was a panic and a lot of people running there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Sian Edwards, for people who live in London, they'll be well aware of London Bridge, but perhaps for people who don't, you work there, can you give us a sense of just how busy it is?
Oh, well, it's really, really busy. And of course, there was an attack on London Bridge not that long ago, a serious terrorist attack. And so after that, they put up a sort of special, like a sort of balustrade along the bridge so that people couldn't drive off the road into pedestrians. But it's constantly busy. It's, buses, cars, bicycles. It's one of the busiest bridges in London, and at the moment there are no pedestrians. The only cars on it. Everything is halted.
As you're looking out of the window, Sian, can you see police around somebody lying on the ground? I mean, I'm just wondering if you can see anything that suggests the incident is over or is potentially carrying on.
I can't see police around anyone from where I am. I can see groups of police standing at the south end of the bridge, in between 2 police vans. There's probably about 15 police standing at the south end of the bridge in 2 groups. There are police now running up the bridge. They're running up the bridge. 2 police are running up the bridge. It looks like they're going back to one of the police cars that's parked on the bridge. I don't think the incident is over because, as I say, it's only about 5 minutes since this building was put into lockdown. So clearly they're trying to keep people away from the area.
OK, Sian Edwards, thanks so much for talking to us for now. It's worth me bringing you up to date with some lines that are coming into us here at the BBC from the news agencies. Reuters, a reputable news agency, are saying that police are saying they were called to a stabbing near London Bridge and a man has been detained. As you can see with me now, British Transport Police have said London Bridge Station has been closed and trains are not stopping there either, as you would imagine. And Reuters are also reporting that it's believed that somebody was stabbed in the London Bridge area today and police have shot a suspect. Well, Amanda Hunter was on a bus when the shooting happened and she joins us now. Thanks for joining us on BBC News, Amanda Hunter.
Hi.
Just tell us what it is you saw.
So I guess I was just on a bus coming home, the 21 bus, and just all of a sudden stopped. There was some commotion and looked out the window and I just saw these 3 police officers going over to a man. I believe he was carrying maybe like it seemed like there was something in his hand. I'm not 100% sure, but then one of the police officers shot him. And then from there, I was able to take a video of this scene. So we were stopped on the bus maybe for only about a minute or a minute and a half, and then we were able to safely get off the bridge.
So where were you exactly, Amanda, at this point? On the bridge?
On the bridge, yeah, right at the beginning of London Bridge.
So the bus then came off the bridge and that's when you got off?
Got off, yeah, to go home, yeah. Kind of scared, yeah.
And our understanding from John McManus, the BBC correspondent who was also at the scene and watched it unfold, was that the emergency services arrived very quickly. Was that what you saw as well?
No, we didn't even see any emergency services coming. I think we were literally there maybe a minute, 2 minutes.
Right.
So there was only 3 police officers at the time.
Okay.
So by the time I got off the bridge, that's when I started hearing the sirens.
We are hearing from news agencies that a man has been detained and a number of people have been injured. I think it's worth you just telling us again, Amanda, what it is you saw from your bus.
So I just saw there was a man. When I looked up, I just saw a man and 3 police officers around him, trying to put him on the ground. And then I heard about 3 shots go into the man, and then the police officers. The 3 of them went away from the suspect.
And how were other people responding? Were people fairly calm or rather more panicky?
We were all just in shock because it happened so quickly and we didn't really know what was going on. Everyone was just kind of in a shock. And it looked like the pedestrians on the other side of the bridge, some of them, I guess, weren't even that aware of what was going on. So it happened just so quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the police are saying that they were called at 1:58 local time, just before 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in London, to a stabbing. Police are saying at a premises near to London Bridge. We know that emergency services, as you can see, are already at the scene in large numbers. And we understand a man has been detained by police. We do also believe that a number of people have been injured. Our correspondent Andy Moore is keeping us updated. Anything new come into us, Andy, since we last spoke?
Well, I think we're getting the first definite information about what happened now from the Metropolitan Police, from an authoritative source. So they say that there was a stabbing incident. We'd only heard that as rumour before. So now it's confirmed by the Metropolitan Police that there was a stabbing of some sort and that several people have been injured as a result of that. I'm just seeing we've got something also just coming in from the Press Association, and they're talking about police say they are treating the evacuation of the area surrounding Borough Market as a major incident. So that is a declaration of a major incident by the police. And the Press Association is quoting a man who worked across the road from Borough Market, site of a previous terror attack in 2017, of course, said he'd heard reports of a man with a knife who'd been shot by police. He also says a lorry crossed over into both lanes and police were shooting at it from both sides, he said. Apparently there was an assailant with knife. They've taped past our office now and we can't get in. So according to this eyewitness, that white lorry that we spoke about earlier on that was across the bridge is relevant to this incident. And certainly images I've seen recently show the police taking a great deal of interest in that white truck that was parked across the road. And I referred there to this area being the site of a terror incident in 2017. It's worth reminding ourselves about that.
Yeah.
That was in June 2017, where a group of terrorists rammed into people on the bridge, and then they got out of that their vehicle and went into Borough Market, where they knifed a number of people before being shot by police. So we haven't had it confirmed that this is a terror incident, but it is at a location where there was a terror incident back in 2017.
Yes, and it's interesting, Andy, that the London Ambulance Service has declared what they describe as a major incident at London Bridge, and they, along with police, are clearly there at the scene in large numbers. The bridge, as we have seen, is closed. People have been moved away. Well, you're watching these pictures with me, people being moved away from what is a very busy part of London. But clearly the emergency service is on the scene, and as I say, the London Ambulance Service have declared a major incident.
That's right. Yes, so we can see the fire service in attendance there as well. London Station has been closed off. The bridge has been totally closed off. So all the emergency services are now in attendance at this incident. What we're hearing from police is that there was a stabbing. They talk about several people being injured. Presumably one of those is the man who was shot, who we understand to be the assailant. Add to the ingredients of this incident reports of shots being fired at a white truck that is straddling the bridge. It may turn out in the fullness of time that some of these reports are well-meaning but totally inaccurate. This is what happens when you have a major incident like this. There will be erroneous reports. People will be scared. They will think that something is happening when it's not. But certainly from the authorities, from the police, we now know that this incident started with a stabbing, and then a man was shot by armed police. And as I said, I was talking about some very interesting images from a bus where there was a man lifeless on the ground next to these concrete barriers that were erected in the wake of the 2017 attack. And armed police, it appeared, had incapacitated the man, but were standing some distance away from him. Normally they would move in to arrest the man, to offer some sort of first aid, to administer first aid. On this occasion, for some reason, we don't know what it was, they were very reluctant, obviously, to go anywhere near the man. They were standing back some distance and keeping their weapons trained on him.
OK, Andy Moore, do stay with us because I know you're monitoring all the latest information as it comes into us. The emergency services have cordoned off London Bridge in the centre of the capital, of course, after shots were fired. The Metropolitan Police have said they're dealing with an incident at London Bridge, which the London Ambulance Service has declared as a major incident. And our correspondent, John McManus, who was on the bridge at the time, said he saw what appeared to be a fight between a group of men, heard 2 shots, and then saw a man, as he described it, prone on the ground. On the telephone now is Ian. Sorry, Ian, I don't know your surname, but I think you too were in the area, and I wondered if you could tell us what you saw.
I'm afraid I didn't see very much. We work in a building just at the end of London Bridge. We were evacuated. The fire alarm went off and we were pushed out onto the footpath. As we came out of the building, we heard the first 2 shots, and I walked up the steps to try to get up to the bridge, assuming things were over and finished. And a policeman with a submachine gun told me very urgently to get back down to the footpath again. A few more minutes later, we heard perhaps another 8 shots. Sounded as though they were from a different weapon. But I'm afraid from where we are, we're just on the footpath at the end of the bridge, and we can't actually see up onto the bridge itself. I can see the buses stopped. I can see police boats in the river stopping any river traffic from going under London Bridge. But I haven't seen any of the incidents of the stabbing or the shooting. But
just to clarify what you said there, Ian, you're pretty sure you heard 2 shots, are you?
Initially, yes. There was a pair of shots together, and as I said, I thought that was the end of the incident and went up to have a look. And then a few minutes later, there was further possibly 8 or 10, which sounded as though they were from a different weapon, and which may be consistent with what people have been saying about the shots at the lorry across the bridge.
OK, and what was the reaction of people in the area at the time?
It was very different. Initially, people were standing around thinking, we could hear loud voices which seemed to be policemen shouting at people who were involved in a bit of a fracas, so it sounded as though it was just a bit of a fight. And then it looked as though some people were being evacuated a bit more urgently, and people started running down in big groups down the footpath towards us. So we were standing almost directly under the bridge for quite some time, and then were moved on by police. Policemen appeared to move us further away. We're maybe 150 yards away now. So it's become clear as time's passed that it's more serious than people initially thought.
OK, Ian. Well, look, really good to talk to you, and do get back in touch if you see or hear anything else. In the meantime, thanks. Let's talk to Luke Poulton. Now, his building is under lockdown, and I think you've got a bird's eye view of the situation, Luke. Is that right?
Yes, I can see the whole bridge from the window in my building.
So tell us what you can see at the moment, first of all.
At the moment, I can see the whole bridge, and at one side of the bridge there is probably about 30 police cars, and then there's also on the other side of the bridge there is undercover police cars that have turned up with a lot of equipment. I think they're checking vehicles at the moment to see what's going on.
And that's the scene as you describe it at the moment. I appreciate you probably weren't standing by your window looking out, but I wonder if you had heard anything around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes, so someone from my work, they had gone out. They were about to leave the building to go out for lunch and then had been told they weren't allowed to leave the building because there was a possible shooting on the bridge. And then just after that, we heard 4 gunshots and then saw everyone running across the bridge.
So you heard 4 gunshots, did you?
Yeah.
Right, OK. And then what happened?
After that, after everyone had ran, then all the police just went on the bridge and started checking. There was the lorries, the police started checking that. And
from what you could see, were police able to clear the bridge very quickly?
Yeah, they cleared everyone. They made sure that, because there was everyone on buses, and they made sure that everyone got off buses and out of their vehicles as quickly as possible.
And how calm were people? Because I should imagine if you're suddenly told to evacuate a bus, it could be quite scary.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of people that you could tell they were panicking as they were running. There were probably about 100 people just running across the bridge, which was, seeing from my window, it was very scary to see as well, and then hearing gunshots.
And you're in a building overlooking the bridge. Have you been told by any of the authorities whether you can leave or not?
No, so our whole building is in lockdown. We aren't allowed to leave the building currently.
Right, and have you got any indication as to how long that might last?
No, we haven't been told. We've just keep on getting emails and updated, and at the moment we're still currently on lockdown until the police have left the bridge. OK, but as you're looking at the scene at the moment, nothing is moving anytime soon? Nothing at the moment. It's just the police checking vehicles and going across the bridge and looking around.
Thanks so much for your time. I just want to update people with what has been happening in case you're just joining us here on BBC News. A man has been detained by police and a number of people have been injured following a stabbing near London Bridge. Andy Moore, our correspondent, is still with us. What can you tell us, Andy?
So police have confirmed that this incident happened at 1:58. They say there was a stabbing. They say a number of people have been injured and a man has been detained. The fact that he's been detained suggests perhaps that he's alive, but we don't know for sure. I've been looking at some video taken when the man was shot very close by. And it confirms what we heard from John, that there appeared to be some sort of fight. So in this video, which I'm sure we'll bring to you later on, you see a man dressed in black on the ground. He's surrounded by police officers. One of them is standing over him with a taser. Another man in civilian clothes is fighting with him. We don't know whether he's a plainclothes police officer or whether he's a member of the public trying to intervene, but he is fighting, struggling with the assailant, and then the armed police officers move in and haul off, drag off the man who's fighting with, we believe, the assailant, and then the shots are fired. So it seems that somebody was fighting with the assailant, the man who was carrying out the stabbing, before the armed police moved in.
OK, stay with us, Andy, if you would. You are watching BBC News, and let's recap on our main story this afternoon. The Metropolitan Police say a man has been detained and a number of people injured after a stabbing at London Bridge in the heart of the capital. London Ambulance Service has declared a major incident. A BBC reporter at the scene says he saw a struggle between a group of men and heard shots being fired. The bridge has been sealed off and members of the public are being directed away from the area. Emergency services are at the scene. We can show you some of the latest images sent in to us now by someone who works nearby. They show people running across the bridge in panic, as you might expect. Reuters, a reputable news agency, is saying that they understand that somebody has been stabbed in the area and that police have, as Andy Moore, our correspondent, was saying, have detained a suspect. Other reports are suggesting they have shot a suspect. Let's talk now to someone who is in the area, Thomas Dunford. Thanks so much for joining us here on BBC News, Mr. Dunford. What can you see at the moment?
Well, we've just been moved, so I was on 55 King William Street, which overlooks the bridge. So I saw 2 bodies get dragged from the bridge. One guy was getting resuscitated, but my understanding, I think he passed away because they put a sheet over him. But we've been evacuated from the building, and we've just been ushered down towards Tower Bridge. And then I've just seen 5 sort of territorial vans sort of zoom past, so I don't know what's going on.
It's worth, therefore, rewinding. We understand this incident started to unfold just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, local time here in London. Where were you at that point?
At that point, I was in my office, so I saw everything outside my office window in terms of all the police vans, and then I saw the bodies getting dragged out, probably, 2:15, and police running towards London Bridge with guns. And I think pretty sure we heard gunshots as well.
Right, because I was going to ask you what you thought you might have heard. We did speak to another eyewitness a little earlier who thought that they had heard as many as 7 or 8 shots. Does that sound similar to your experience?
Yeah, within the space of about 20 seconds, there was multiple gunshots that we heard.
Yes. And then emergency services very quickly on the scene. We know the London Ambulance Service has declared a major incident, and people ushered off the bridge very quickly. What was the mood like? Were people fairly calm, or were people rather more panicking?
Panicky. I mean, there was people in the cafe opposite us, Farmer J's, and at first they closed all the doors, but then the police opened the doors and made everybody sort of sprint out all at once. It was very panicky, but it seems like the police dealt with it quite well. They got everybody out of the area pretty quick.
Thomas, we're looking, as you speak, at an image that you've sent in to us, which I assume you filmed on your phone. Can you just explain to us exactly where that is in relation to the bridge?
So from that image, if you were to go to the left, that's London Bridge.
Right.
So that's pretty much looking at the end of London Bridge, that.
And when did you take this photograph? When did you take this film?
Probably about 45 minutes ago.
And so if you were to look at the scene now, does it still look like that?
I've been evacuated from the area now, so I'm now by Tower Bridge.
Right, yes, you said. And when you say you were ushered away from the area, was that by the police? And if so, what did they say to you?
So they communicated with the receptionist downstairs in my office, who communicated with us that we needed to evacuate the building. And then as soon as we got downstairs, they made us all sort of sprint right.
Okay, well, look, it must be rather frightening. Do stay in touch with us. But for now, Thomas Dunford, thanks so much for getting in touch with us. Let's talk now to Mike King. No, let's talk while we wait to talk to Mike King, who I also think is in the area. Let's bring in our correspondent Andy Moore, who is sitting with me watching these pictures and keeping abreast of any developments. What are you seeing and hearing, Andy?
So, first of all, the official information from the Metropolitan Police, it's worth repeating. They were called to an incident at 1:58. They said it involved a stabbing. They say several people have been injured, and they talk about a man being detained. London Ambulance Service saying they've declared a major incident. So I'm looking through lots of eyewitness video from the scene now. I'm looking at some other video which shows what appears to be a member of the public. As I said, somebody in civilian clothes. For all we know, it may be a police officer who's in civilian clothes. We just don't know, but appears to be a member of the public wrestling with a man on the floor. The man on the floor appears to be dressed in black clothes, appears to be bearded. The member of the public who's wrestling with him is pulled off, and then the police fire a number of shots. So it is worth remembering. Here we go. Sorry, we can see some of that video now.
Exactly
what I was talking about. Yes.
Exactly.
So I mean, it was our correspondent John McManus who said it appeared to be a fight. We can see the member of public being pulled off there, and it's just after this that the man is shot, and then you can see. Yes, here we're seeing it again. So that member of the public, see there, is being pulled off the man on the ground, and then we're not showing obviously the moment of shooting, but then the man is shot and disabled. And after that, it's interesting that the armed police stand back some distance. They don't administer any first aid to the man on the ground. They're obviously concerned that there may be explosives on the man, there may be some further danger. This hasn't officially been declared a terrorist incident, but it's worth remembering this is on London Bridge, the scene of a terrorist incident in 2017, which involved stabbings and which involved the terrorists being shot. So there are some elements that are certainly similar.
OK, Andy Moore, stay with us. But in the meantime, I'd like to talk now, if I may, to Mike King, who is a parish church councillor at St Magnus the Martyr. And I understand that a number of people have sought shelter in the church. Is that correct?
Not in the sense that they fled into the parish church. They were directed inside by police outside, directing people to go into the buildings nearby. As you know, there are a number of offices near to us. So everybody's been ushered into offices and buildings close by, and we've had a number of people come in to see us.
How many people have you seen cross your threshold?
Yes, literally, they have crossed our threshold. We've got the police outside directing traffic away from the scene, directing people away from the scene, and directing people to go into shelter, into offices and buildings around the area, ourselves included.
And did you see or hear anything of the incident as it started to unfold just over an hour ago?
No, I was literally just about to leave when I was told, go back inside, there's been an incident on London Bridge, and we had heard a noise of what I thought was firecrackers or something to that effect going off earlier on. But these days firecrackers go off everywhere, so it's hard to know what is what sometimes.
Yes, and when you say you were told to stay inside, who told you that?
The police officers outside in the road. I went out to investigate and to let them know the situation here, that we were open and anybody could come in if they wished to. And he asked us to stay inside for the time being. OK,
Mike King, just stay on the line. While you're speaking, we're watching a video which has emerged showing police officers aiming guns at a white lorry that appears to have jackknifed across London Bridge. You're watching these pictures alongside me. The footage would seem to show several officers surrounding the vehicle before moving perhaps to the back of the vehicle, possibly to check its container. You can see that there are London buses on either side of the lorry, while there are clearly 3 police cars, I think there are, aren't there, in front of the lorry. So this is what appears to be a jackknife white lorry across London Bridge, and this footage showing officers surrounding it and 3 police cars parked next to it. We're just looking at that picture as you are talking, Mike King, who is in a nearby church. What are people saying to you that you've perhaps met over the last hour?
Nothing, unfortunately, concerning the incident, except there had been, quote, an incident on London Bridge somewhere. That was all the information we had. We assumed the worst, naturally, by the noise of police sirens and emergency vehicles and what appeared to be an overhead, a helicopter flying overhead.
Right, OK. Well, look, Mike King, we'll leave it there for now, but thank you very much for talking to us. We're grateful. Clearly, this is an ongoing and unfolding situation, and thank you for your time talking to us on BBC News. Let us talk now to our security correspondent, Gordon Carrera, who is at the scene. And what more can you tell us, Gordon?
Yes, I'm at London Bridge now, just on the river by a police cordon. I've just spoken to a witness who was in his office by the bridge and who says he saw the shots being fired against this individual, multiple shots, he says, as the individual was lying down on the bridge. He didn't see how that individual arrived at the bridge, but he says he saw a group of policemen. He says it could have been as many as 10 around that individual. And then the shots being fired, and then later on saw people being brought out of a building, he says, who may have also been injured. He didn't want to give his name or further details. He looked quite shocked by what he'd witnessed on the bridge, on the north side of the bridge, which is close to where I'm standing now, about a couple of 100 yards away, where I can see a line of buses stopped. There's a black police boat, also a couple of hundred yards in front of me in the water, and helicopters circling above as well at the scene. So clearly quite a lot of activity still ongoing, even though the incident seems to be over now.
Gordon, have you had any chance to speak to your contacts about who might be responsible for this in any way, or is it just far too early?
It is too early to be sure about that, given it's happened in the last hour and a half or so. So I think they will be wanting to assess that. Certainly, I mean, it looks like it could well have been some kind of terrorist incident, but it's always difficult to speculate too soon and to be sure about that until more details come in. So no official word, no real guidance on that. But clearly a lot of the protocols you'd expect in such an incident have kicked in. A lot of activity, cordons, people being moved out of offices. I was part of a stream of people being moved out of the area by police a few minutes ago, and still quite a lot going on. But clearly they did deal with this pretty quickly and pretty decisively, it looks like, in terms of what this eyewitness told me in terms of the shots being fired against that individual, as he seems to have been already down on the bridge when that happened, the eyewitness told me.
Gordon, would you just stay where you are? I want to just break off because we've been hearing from the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson has said, I'm being kept updated on the incident at London Bridge and want to thank the police and all emergency services for their immediate response. That's a statement just put out by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has added she was very concerned. And then, as I say, Boris Johnson saying, I'm being kept updated on the incident at London Bridge and want to thank the police and all emergency services for their immediate response. Gordon, what's the scene as it is at the moment? Because we know that the bridge is closed. We know that all the emergency services are there, police, fire and ambulances. The area has clearly been evacuated. But the incident, as far as you're aware, is actually over, is it?
Well, I mean, it's always hard to be sure in this, but just judging by the kinds of activity I'm seeing now, it doesn't look like the kind of urgent activity you'd expect necessarily if they thought this was an ongoing incident. I mean, I am only a couple of, maybe 100 metres or so from where the shots appear to have been fired and from the bridge itself, and we're not being moved back any further. The police look relatively calm. There's a couple of officers in front of me. So there is a lot of activity. I mean, the helicopter you can probably hear above me, but also these boats out on the river. It doesn't look like they're doing a kind of urgent search at the moment. Lots of traffic stopped on the bridge. A lot of office workers were being moved as I came down and walked down towards the river, and a lot of police and fire engines on the move. But just judging by the way people are acting now, the sense seems to be that it's over. No one's giving a sense that we have to move or that there's any urgent need to move from where we are, which might suggest that they do think it's contained and over, whatever it is.
Gordon, clearly details still emerging. This has all happened only just within the last hour or so. It does seem that police were on the scene and managing the incident incredibly swiftly. Is there anything we could perhaps read into that?
No, I think partly we are in the in a centre of London, a place, of course, where there have been incidents before, so you expect there to be a state of readiness from police for this kind of incident. I mean, it is the kind of incident that we've sadly seen before, and so it is something they're prepared for. You'd expect there to be a lot of police in this area, and they do appear to have moved quickly to deal with it, and to have armed officers on the scene pretty quickly. We don't know. I don't know exactly when it began. The person I spoke to saw the shots. He thinks around about kind of 2:10, but he can't be sure about that. And then saw some injured people being moved maybe 20 minutes after that. So it's hard to know when this exactly started. But yes, I mean, there's certainly a lot of activity, and this is the kind of incident which police and the other services have been unfortunately prepared for, and they've seen it here and in other places in the past.
OK, Gordon Carrera, our security correspondent, thank you for that update. Do get back in touch, of course, if you hear anything else. But for now, thank you. Let's talk now to Farid Qureshi. He was at the scene when the commotion began. Thanks for joining us here on BBC News. Can you tell us what you saw?
Actually, I was here outside London Bridge Hospital, and at 2:08, I saw the police helicopter and the people running from the scene. I tried to speak to them, but none of them, they were afraid actually, they didn't want to speak to me. But then one of them said that they heard shots and then police suddenly appeared there and they were moving the people from the scene. And then they cordoned off the area. And I can still see that the police is here and the area is cordoned off. The London Bridge Hospital is also cordoned off. And we were waiting here for former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. He had an appointment at London Bridge Hospital. He was due to arrive here, but then he went back to his home. And we can still see the people here, the police, emergency services, and a lot of people actually here outside London Bridge Hospital.
Yes, as you're talking to us, Farid Qureshi, we're watching some of the pictures that you took, some film that you took and have kindly made available to us here at the BBC. And from what you're saying, if this happened at about 8 minutes after 2, we think that's within 10 minutes of when this incident started to unfold. And it sounds like the people that you saw running towards you were frightened. How would you describe what they were saying?
They were frightened. They were. I can clearly see that they didn't want to speak. They were just running towards the hospital, towards the station, and none of them wanted to speak or even to stop there and tell us what's happening. Just one person told that he heard the shots and then they started running from the scene, but they didn't know the details. And then we saw the police following them, and police were trying to move the people from the area. And as I said, the area is cordoned off now, and police and emergency services are here, and the helicopters can be seen. So the scene is still on, and the people are here. Police is here to stop them.
And not police, I beg your pardon, are people able to get in and out of the hospital?
Yes, people, they didn't, some of them, they entered the hospital, but none of them was injured or hurt, but they were just afraid and they were leaving the scene, so they just wanted to get into some safe place maybe. Some of them, they went to the station, and then now the station is also closed and nobody can go from this road to the station.
OK, Farid Qureshi, we're going to leave it there for now, but thank you very much indeed for talking to us. The Press Association is reporting that station staff at Monument Station claim that 5 people have been injured in this attack on London Bridge. The tube station has been closed off, and Farid Qureshi was saying London Bridge is also closed as armed police investigate. Our correspondent Tom Simons is at London Bridge. What more can you tell us, Tom?
All right, cheers. Thank you very much.
Well, we've, as you say, taken up this position, which is in the City of London, just north of the northern end of London Bridge, where this incident looks to have happened. The police have done what they always do in these situations, put in an enormous cordon, a safety zone around this area. As we were coming up to the point where we are now, one of the officers said to me, this is a potential firearms incident and make sure you take hard cover if needed. So clearly that's the scale of what we're dealing with. Having said that, what we have been able to confirm from pieces of video sent to us that we think tally with each other, that there's always a question mark about pieces of video from open media, shows a group of passers-by, presumably, though don't be sure, but it looks like passers-by holding down a man, a firearms officer then moving in towards this group, and it looks as though he is telling them to get out of the way to get clear, and then it looks as though a shot is fired. You can see a puff of smoke and the man on the ground falls still. Now luckily we have with us John McManus, one of our reporters, who was just over the road, John, when this happened. You can confirm for us, can you, that sort of account we're putting together from these bits of video that we've seen around?
I witnessed some of that myself, Tom.
come, I was walking from the south side of the bridge to the north side. On the other side of the road, this was sometime just after 2 o'clock, I could see what appeared to be a commotion. Somebody next to me said, it looks like there's a fight going on. There seemed to be several men who were trying to hold somebody down. It looked like a bit of a rugby scrum. They suddenly jumped up, started running away from that person, and I noticed then that armed police had suddenly arrived on the northern side of the bridge. All the traffic stopped. The police were armed. They were shouting at the person on the ground and telling us to get off the bridge, and that's when I heard what sounded like 2 shots fired in the direction of this person. As I was leaving the bridge, I could see that person was lying prone on the ground. They didn't seem to be moving. I couldn't see if it was a man or a woman. I was on the other side of several lanes of traffic on that bridge. I and all the other people on the bridge ran off to the north side of the bridge. Police moved us right back, and as we were moving even further back, hundreds of metres away, I was out the side of the bridge, but I heard what sounded like several more shots then carry on, and police still moving us away from the direction of the bridge.
So after the shots were fired, could you see what the man was doing on the ground? Was he still? Was he moving?
He was absolutely still. He wasn't moving at all, if indeed it was a man. I couldn't tell from where I was. I was on the other pavement, the opposite pavement, so I couldn't quite see if it was a man or a woman. But they were slumped right next to the wall of the bridge, and they were not moving as I left. But as I said, we and everybody else on the bridge, including many, many tourists who were there, of course, taking in the view of Tower Bridge, were moving off the bridge very, very quickly while this was all unfolding.
And as you can see behind us, there's police vehicles flying around all over the place. We've seen unmarked vehicles moving towards the London Bridge area. The cordon is pretty big. I mean, there's probably a 5-10 minute walk to the north side of the bridge from here, John, don't you think?
Yes, that bridge was absolutely packed with traffic, pedestrians and tourists. It's one of London's busiest bridges, stretching from where we are, the City of London, right down to the south side of the river, and of course London Bridge Station, which is a major terminus here in London. Always a very busy station, so lots of people were heading in that direction when this began to unfold. As we were moved off the bridge, police started putting up their cordons and moving people away, and as you can see, they've moved us actually quite far back now, hundreds and hundreds of metres from the north side of the bridge. All the traffic was stopped. I saw buses stopped, people had to get off the buses, taxis turned round, drivers redirected, and people told to walk in this direction fast away from the bridge as fast as they could, and we are now pretty far back from where this incident happened on the bridge itself.
And I'm just interested to go back to the beginning of this incident to tell me what you saw, what the first thing you noticed was with this group of people. Did they seem to know the man? Were they trying to restrain him, as it seems on the videos? Can you give us a general view on that?
The first thing I noticed were a couple of people running past me, south down the bridge, running very quickly. And at first I just thought, I didn't think anything of it. I thought this is a busy bridge, people are in a rush. I thought perhaps they were running to catch a train at London Bridge. Then I realised something was going on the other side of the bridge, on the other side of the road from me, where I think there was some shouting, though I don't want my memory to play tricks with me now.